video, we're going to be covering a pro forma, and I'm going to walk through one of the properties that I purchased. So let's start with the top. I usually will put the selling price of the property or what they're asking for. And then I'm going to have all of the units listed out that the building consists of. If there's less or more, you'll just add or delete them. I signify the unit so I don't get confused with it. You can see B1, 2F, 2R. And then at the bottom, I'll have areas for laundry and parking and any other rents that we may end up getting, right? So you'll see when I purchased the property, there were 2 units vacant and there were 3 units that were severely under rented. What you can see in the next column C here is that I projected that I would get $3,000 a month on average. So I'm Airbnb this unit. This would be a rent amount. So what I did was I staggered my increases just because these people, really couldn't swallow such a huge increase from $1,800 to $2,595. So what I did was I did actually a 3-step process, and I increased them every few months a little bit. And these are going to be all the rents that I think I can get on the market. Or in this scenario, I already locked up these tenants. But usually what will end up happening is I'll create this pro forma in advance. I'll think about how much rent I could get for different things like the garage, barn, and storage, as well as things for common area laundry, which would be coin op, as well as my parking. What you'll see down here is a set of percentages that are going to relate to the expenses to the property. And these are all percentages of the gross rent, right? So you're going to see capital expenditures, which are more or less, the banks want to see that you're saving for things like roofs or heating systems or even exterior painting, bigger projects that you want to save a certain amount for. Management. In the greater Boston area, it's going to be anywhere between 5% and 6%, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, depending upon your management company. But we like to use 6% on average. We're going to be able to put our bad debt and what we're going to have is our maintenance next. And this really depends upon the age of the property. If the properties are older, you're going to have this on the higher mark between probably 7 to 10%. Or on the brand new ones, lower 4 to 5%. We're going to be renovating most of this property, so we're hoping for it to be in that 7% range. Bad debt is money that we are pretty much never going to see again. These are debts that we are writing off due to renters not paying. Vacancy, even though there may be never vacancy because we send out our renewals 9 months in advance, you and the bank also want to calculate for this as well. So we'll put that at about 4%. Now you're going to see I have cap at 5%. This is just a placeholder. You'll see what I mean later on. And we're going to have a down payment amount of 25%, which is what the banks will typically ask for from us. So what you're going to see here on the right-hand side is the gross scheduled income. This is just going to be the total income that we have. That is a calculation of all of this, right? Total. And what we have here is going to be the laundry income, and we need to make sure that we're calculating that on a yearly basis. So we're going to multiply that times 12. Same thing with parking. And you're going to see that I have a total income of $173,280. On the right-hand side, again, these are just going to be calculations. So we're going to do 2.5%, which is this number over here, times that total income, right? And you can see that I'm using C26. Right, which is going to be that number times H17, which is going to be this number, right? Same thing goes for all of these. These are going to be expenses that I can allocate towards it. And in taxes, we want to actually look at the city of, this one was in Waltham, for example. But you can look up the assessing department anywhere or call in and get the amount. I think mine was something like 9,900. So it's really close to 10,000. I rounded up. For insurance, again, I will typically average about $1,000 to $1,200 per unit per year. And in this scenario, I have an estimate from our insurance agent, right about $5,000. So you put that in. But the closer you can get these two specifically, the better. I did these quickly, but look up your assessing department and call your insurance agent. Gas, this would typically relate to any type of utilities such as stoves or heating that you have to pay for. I don't have any common area heating, nor do I have to pay any gas stoves. All the tenants have their own separate utilities, so that's a 0 for me. Electric, Really, if it's like a 3-family unit, you're probably averaging between $30 to $35 per month for the common areas. Again, this is not for the units. So in this one, I have a little bit bigger common areas, I have outdoor lighting. So I'm going to average about $600 a year for that. Trash, this is free for the city. And then water and sewer. So water and sewer, I like to calculate about $25 to $30 per person per month multiplied by 12. So you're going to see that I add up all these expenses and you're going to get that 58,622. What will end up happening is that you get that net operating income, which is just this number of the total income subtracted by your total expenses, giving you the NOI. So the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to try to figure out what the building value cap is, what I would buy at. So at 5% return, right, the property's worth 2.293 million. Right, so that's far above the 864 that I was purchasing from. And again, not every deal is this good, but let's see and let's average it out. Okay, it's at 8%, 10%. Right, so these numbers are an inversion of it, right? This is just this number, all right, with the inversion of this to get this number, and you can do the opposite if you have the purchase price to determine what that cap rate would be. Let's keep going. Right, so okay, it's not 14%. All right, so getting pretty close there, right? 864. So 12.8. Nope, other way, 13.2. Okay, really close. 13.3 maybe. Right. So somewhere in between 13.3 and 13.258 or something of that nature. So you're going to see that this is a killer deal that we purchased on this one. And I would buy these all day long. And you're going to see, based upon this 25%, that they are going to ask us to have a down payment of this amount, right? So hold on, let's just double check that math here. Right? So we want to see that we have H40, right, which is going to be this number times that 25%. So again, the banks are going to really want to see, that they pretty much want to have a cap rate of at least 5-6% in the greater of Boston. I'm twice this amount. And again, this is really important because they want to see that you're calculating in real expenses related to your property, not just your good old income that has, but you're planning for rainy days as well. And then you can use this pro forma to help you calculate out what your cap rate is based upon the purchase price that is being asked. And then determine if you have a cap rate. I usually will say minimum 7 for me. It is above 7, so I am definitely going to be buying this property, which I did. And obviously, over time, as your rents increase, these cap rates will improve. But you want to do this off the bat prior to purchasing the property. So hope you found value in us going through this pro forma. If you have a property that you'd like to run through or you'd like to get a copy of this template, I'm happy to send it to you. Just DM me template or put it in the comments below and I'll make sure to respond.